Hi, welcome back. This video is going to be about, like, maybe more than one video, to be fair, because it's quite a lot to this wing construction. There's lots of bits to point out, and you could add detail and all sorts of things, but I'm just going to go through the basic principles of putting the wing together, and I'll see how far it goes regards how detailed it goes and how many videos it takes to do it. Now, the wing construction starts on page 13 of the Airfix instructions, which is fine, and the first thing it asks you to do is install these two pieces here into the wing. So I'm just going to basically go through that. It's a given that every piece you take out of the sprues and stuff, clean them up really well, and make sure all the rough edges and stuff are taken off there. If you don't clean them up properly, it's not going to fit on the part correctly either, so just make sure you do that. They are handed, these two pieces, so just follow the instructions as regards that as well. You can't really get it wrong as long as you follow the instructions. So we'll do that bit first. This piece just fits there, and every time you add a piece of plastic to this kit, this wing stiffens up because it's like a piece of it's very flexible and jelly like at the moment. So basically we're just going to glue that into there. What I tend to do with this is I use extra thin and just drop a little bit into the gaps. That's the wrong bit. Just drop it into there like that. You can't get this bit wrong, it's fine. So just basically let that set. Right, I'll come back when it's set. Okay, dead simple, that part. Basically you've got these two pieces glued into there, and there's a second on this side. So that's that bit done. Now the next part, it's a bit that I have learned by bitter experience. You need to get this bit right, and there's a modification or a step that I would strongly suggest you do, which involves fitting the undercarriage, and it makes your life a lot easier if you do this now. I've done a video all about this one, so if you go, I'll put a link in the description and I'll put a card up. So go look at that video, and basically what it does, I'll very quickly explain what it does. This is your undercarriage leg. These are the sockets that it's advertising, it's saying fit into here, which I have done. As you can see, I've already glued these in. These are for the undercarriage legs to fit in, which go in there like that. Now you may notice I've just put that undercarriage leg in there really easily, and also I've fitted this part here to the undercarriage leg that's already there. Now that is fitted in the instructions right at the end of the build, and if you fit it then you'll have a heck of a job doing it. And also this leg is really tight in that socket. Go look at the video, it explains everything. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I strongly recommend you'll have a look at that video. So follow the instructions, do that part, follow that step that I've just suggested if you wish. So then you've got a spar. This is your main spar with your undercarriage leg sockets in. You can't get these wrong, they'll only fit one way around. So the next stage, now it talks about fitting the spar. It doesn't want you to glue it in. I'll bring the instructions down, because because again this thing's quite flexible. In theory, if you get this wrong, if you glue it too quickly, you could misalign everything. I've not had any experience of that personally, but we'll follow the instructions anyway. So this is the main spar, and then you've got all the ribs from the wing attached to it, which you need to cut out. You then got to, this is the wheel well, it's basically in three pieces, which then connects to this rib, and then that goes in there to the wheel well. So from the other side you see a wheel well in this side. It's dead easy. Now then, I'll throw some pictures up of the undercarriage. I've got quite a good PDF book with lots of detail in, and it's up to you if you want to add more detail to this. I don't mind adding detail. I'm not a big fan of adding it to undercarriages because I think this kit's quite good. on the undercarriage. It's good enough to, I'm happy to keep it as it is. The only thing I will add extra detail wise, I'll add a brake line onto the undercarriage leg probably on this one. Other than that, I'm quite happy to just leave it at that really. Again, that's up to you. I'll throw some pictures of how it really looks on a real aircraft, which you can make your own decision on that one. So the first stage, we need to work on fitting this rib here, which I will then prepare now. I'm back in a moment. I'm just cleaning up this rib. You'll find on every single part of, just about every part of this kit, it has a, wherever it's moulded, it'll have a seam line everywhere, and I hate seam lines. So I'm not sure which parts of these you can see, but I'm getting rid of them anyway, so I just don't like them. So good practice, I think it's just best practice, get rid of the seam lines just to make it look nice and neat and tidy. I don't know why Airfix do this. It seems the tolerance for moulding things without putting a line down everything is they're not capable. It's not a problem, it just takes you time, which I find irritating, because other kits, not naming any names, don't do this as much. I mean, you get them on all of them, but these are quite bad sometimes, and as the kit get ages, as you know, with time, this situation will get worse. 10 years down the line, this kit will be absolutely riddled with these horrible flash marks and seam lines. But anyway, at the moment we don't have that problem as much. But yeah, it's just a pain, because I'd rather be doing something else than cleaning up seam lines all the time. But if you want your kit to look nice and you want your model to look nice, get rid of them. Get rid of them. So I'll be back when I've done that. Out of interest, people might wonder what this little hooky thing is for. This goes through the bottom of the fuselage. You might notice when you'll notice it, 'cause it has to do it. It goes through the base of the fuselage. It sticks out the bottom there, and it's basically a mounting point for either an external fuel tank. I think it's for an external fuel tank, or a bomb bay or a bomb rack or something like that, which you never ever saw on Spitfires. Well, you did, but very, very rarely. But that's what it's for. Anyway, back when that's cleaned up. Okay, there's lots of cleanup on these to do. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but whenever you scrape plastic, I've noticed, well, you do, you just get like fuzzy bits, which are difficult to get rid of. So what I tend to do is paint in there with a bit of extra thin, and it just melts the fuzzy bits. And it just gets rid of them, because if you try and paint that with all the fuzzy bits stuck to it, it makes a mess. So it kind of just smooths it out. You can't use it on everything, because if there's any great amount of detail there, you might melt the rivets or whatever. But on things like this, I find it quite a useful little tool just to paint glue on it. So I do all that. Now, a lot of people criticise this kit for fit problems and things like that. Well, I think this kit fits amazingly well. It's superb. It's CNC designed, and the tolerances for it are so tight. It's the problem with that is it's not very forgiving. If you're a bit too, if you don't do this, you don't clean the parts up properly. You don't clean all the seam lines off, because tolerances don't take into consideration moulding issues. If you do all this and you make sure it's tight and clean, it fits perfect. And if you follow the instructions and be mindful when you put it all together, it's fine. So I would go as far as to say it doesn't fit because of user error, not because the kit's poor in any way. Anyway, so that's that one done. That took about 10 minutes to clean that one part up. So I'll do the other one and I'll come back to you. Okay, I've cleaned this particular rib up here, and this is your main spar. Now in the instructions, as I've said earlier, you'll notice these, I'm just going to move my light a little bit. You'll notice it says don't glue any of these things when you put it together. Now I'm confident that you can ignore that completely, as long as you follow the following steps. I'm just going to zoom out again. It's a pain not gluing it together. It's unnecessary as well. Excuse me while I move my light. So all I do is basically get the spar, put the rib on top of it, which is like this, and that hook goes through the base of the fuselage, and that's it, it's in there. Now the only thing you need to make sure you line up properly is this end of the spar meets the end of that notch there. So the first thing I'm going to glue is there, because that's the important part. So just drop some extra thin in there. Just hold that for a little bit. I'm not going to hold on camera for that, so back in a minute. Okay, that end's dry, so now I can glue the rest of it in. So just go for it with your extra thin and drop it into, I think this first rib here is perfectly okay to be glued in. Now that locates on the edge of this first pit that we glued in. So make sure that glues as well. Just do a bit at a time and hold it. You don't have to use extra thin, you can use anything. Just be mindful when you do use extra thin, it can get a bit oozy. It melts the plastic so efficiently, it tends to ooze out the gaps and stuff, so don't put it anywhere where there's detail and it can show too much. So what I like about it is it grabs so fast. It's yeah, it's quick setting, and it really is quick setting. So yeah, so that's in there, okay. Tend to put the glue from the front on this spar, because there's no detail whatsoever now at this point. Well, there is some rivet lines there, and I don't know why they bother, because you'll never see them. So yeah, just drop some down the edges. And just hold them with your fingers. Right, I want to glue that. You can see this little bit here, this part here. If you've got the engine cowlings off and everything, you can just about see in there. And this bit here shows as well, but not a great deal. But the rest of this, no, you're not going to see it. You might see a little bit where the guns stick through, but not much. So we're going to put that in from this side. Okay, I'm just holding that again. And a bit more on that side there. And a bit there. There's nothing you can get wrong, really. The only thing that goes wrong is fitting parts that have got lumps sticking out of it and they're not cleaned up right. Nice strong bond on that one there. So yeah, I'm trying to make sure all this is done. I'll be back and we'll do the other side. Okay, we've got two ribs in there, and the spar is glued to this, from this point here down to here. Now the next bit is important. This isn't glued in at this spar. Now if you notice, the end of that spar is right flush up to that little peg, that little location pin there. This one needs to do the same, and that dictates. If you don't do that, you'd have a gap there. It's not much of a gap, it's only like, it's not even a millimetre, but it does dictate the diameter of the wing, so how it sits this way. If you have a gap on that side, the top wing may not fit flush with the wing root on the fuselage, so it's important to get this little bit right as well. So all you need to do to get this bit right is put some pressure on that point there, and then lift the wing up underneath with your fingers and just tack that spar so it touches that point there. Just drop some extra thin in there. You could clamp it or just hold it or whatever. So I just basically hold it with my fingers till it goes off. You've got a little bit of leeway there, but it's better if you get it nice and tight into that little gap there. So again, back in a minute. Okay, I've just taped all this assembly together. Bear in mind, this fuselage isn't glued together. Even that half of the cockpit tub isn't glued together. I've taped everything together just to show what I mean by getting everything right in the first place. It includes the fuselage, so go watch the videos on how to get the fuselage correct as well. So if it's right and you get this wing dihedral correct and everything's all good, the wing roots should be perfect like that. You see there's no step, there's no gap, there's no high point on the wing root or the wing itself. It isn't like this or it isn't like that. And when you glue it together, you should get a beautiful seamless line there. Because on the real aeroplane, this is just basically a fairing. The wing keeps going underneath the fuselage and the fairing sits on top of the wing, but there's no visible gap really at this scale. You wouldn't see it. So that's what you're trying to achieve. You want to get this edge like that, which I can do that on this kit even without the thing glued together. Just have to fiddle with that one a little bit because it's not glued right, but you can just lift it, and that edge to me is the most important part of making this kit look right. If that looks wrong, it just looks wrong. I can't describe any more than that. It's really important to get this right. So following the build steps in the kit's alright, but you don't have to do it as long as you just, there we go, you just lift it underneath. What I tend to do when I put the wing on, I'll do a video about this, I tend to tack that with some little drops of cyano just to make sure this wing is glued to that root before you do anything else. Anyway, we'll go over that later on, but that's what I wanted to stress really. But as long as you get the dihedral right and that spar and those ribs are in there, everything else you can just basically go for it. So take it all apart again, I'll come back to you on the next part. Okay, two things to mention. It does mention in instructions to cut away this piece of plastic here. I think it's for that one's got depending on the version, it's got a light in there. I don't know why this side it's been moulded in, but on this kit it doesn't need to be there. So you just basically cut this piece out. Right, so that's super critical as long as it doesn't stick out. And then if you go to page 42 in the instructions, which is right at the end, there's this little piece called N16. I think it's some sort of antenna or aerial or something, I don't know what it is. It fits in this little hole, which asks you to drill a hole in the plastic. When I can find it, just there. It says a 1mm drill. Now I don't use a 1mm drill on that because I think the piece of plastic that they give you is far too thick to be scaled, so I tend to just drill it with a smaller one. So I intend to put a piece of wire in there instead of, on this one I'm going to put a thinner piece of wire in there. So just drill the hole out. As long as you can see where the hole is, it doesn't really matter what you drill it with, but I would say personally drill it smaller than you need, because you can always make the hole bigger. It's not easy to make the hole smaller. But yeah, so just mark that so you can see it later on. So you've now got a hole there. Okay, so that needs doing. So the next stage is basically to follow all the rest of it, which is pretty routine really. You're just building the undercarriage bays, which basically I'll plug in here and everything, which I'll do that now. Back in a minute. First parts to fit on the undercarriage bays are these two pieces here, which is 59. I can't remember them, it's the alternate piece on the other side anyway. Now just be a bit more careful with your glue now, because there is detail on this. This is the inside of the undercarriage that you can see from this side. So when you put them in, I tend to just push fit them in, because again they fit really well. And just put in a tiny bit of extra thin just in there. Just a bit there. Just leave it at that and hold it with your finger. Don't wiggle it about. And that'll hold that one. Okay, others have to do. Again, this is just the wheel well that you're building in 3 different pieces that attaches to this rib. Follow the same routine. Make sure you clean all the parts up before you glue them together. You end up with that nice little assembly like that, and that's dead easy. It's just, this kit is so clever the way it all goes together. You just pop it in that little groove there. It just all clips in together, and end up with that routine. From the other side, it's just this beautiful undercarriage bay. It's fantastic. I mean, they are in 3 pieces and there are seam lines, but I suspect, I don't know, I've not looked at the pictures, but I don't see any need to fill anything and do anything other than just assemble this part. So I'm going to glue that bit in, do the other side, and then we'll move on to the next part. Okay, right, everything's in. Got the wheel wells, the main spar, and the bits for, well, basically the flap arrangement goes up the back here. Now that is the basic wing assembly. This is going to be part 1, I've decided. If you weren't going to put the guns in at the moment, all you need to do now, you don't put the wings on yet. I tend to put, this would fit onto the bottom of the fuselage first and then the top half's going afterwards. But basically that is the basic wing. All this stuff on this sprue, which is sprue F, that's left over, which is considerable, are all the guns and the subsequent ribs and stuff, and you don't need any of that now if you're not going to put the guns in. You can throw that in the bin, you don't need it. All you need to do now is, if you weren't putting the guns in, you just glue all the covers on, everything. Glue the covers on the bottom and you glue the covers on the top here. I know this because that's what I've done. It doesn't need any of the ribs in it. It doesn't serve any purpose apart from add detail for the guns. So that's basically part 1 of assembling the wing. So part 2, I suspect, is going to be fitting the guns. Now at this stage I would paint in here as well. I'm not necessarily going to do that yet because I'm going to have to paint if I put all the gun bays and everything, which I'm going to do in this case. So once all that stuff's in, it's going to be all painted, and I'm just going to paint everything in there flat aluminium, because that's basically what they look like to me. So flat aluminium is the good way to go. Now you can hit this one. I would paint it now because you can hit it with the airbrush from all directions. You can hit it from, because it's such a strange shape, I suppose. You can spray everything in from this side, and you can also spray this from that side. I wouldn't worry about overspray on anything. Just go for it, and then you're going to paint over that anyway. You'd mask it off. In this case, it's not going to be painted. This model is going to be foiled everywhere, so it's it's not a conventional build in that respect. But yeah, so just to recap, that's your basic wing. Button it up, you're done. Throw the other stuff in the bin, but we're not going to do that. So that's part 1 of building the Spitfire wing. Catch you in a bit. Just a PS, I am going to tickle up the wheel wells because they do fit pretty well, but I think they could do with a bit of a clean up in there. So once all this glue's dried and stuff, I'll probably just run around with a blade and a scalpel and some sandpaper and just neaten these up a little bit, and I might even fill the gaps. I'm not decided yet, but other than that, we're good to go.